නමෝ තස් භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සංබුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස් භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සංබුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස් භගවතෝ අරහතෝ Samma Sambuddhassa. Honor to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. My utmost respect to the perfectly enlightened Samma Sambuddha, the noble doctrine of the Buddha, and the noble Mahasangha, the disciples of the Buddha. Dear Dhamma friends, welcome to our Sunday Dhamma Talk series. Today is week number 68. And this weekly special Dhamma Talk series is conducted by renowned Buddhist monks from around the world, and it's aimed at helping Dhamma USA community to expand their Dhamma knowledge. Join us every Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and 6:30 a.m. IST. And this weekly Dhamma Talk series is conducted by many monks. And today, September 3rd, 2023, we have a very special Sayadaw from Myanmar. The topic today is the real miracle of Buddhism. Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana is the monk who has accepted our humble invitation. Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana is a lecturer on Buddhist counseling and counseling psychology in the Dhamma Vinaya University in Yangon, Myanmar. Let me say something about Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana before we start the proceedings. Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana is a Theravada Buddhist monk born in 1984 in a rural village of Rakhine State, Western Myanmar. Venerable has been a monk since 12 years old. His higher ordination was made in the age of 20. Since at 19, he taught basic Buddhist texts to young novices, and from 2010 to 2012, he became a lecturer of higher Buddhist texts of Dhammacharya degree to the monks. In 2014, he received his MA degree in Buddhist Studies in 2014 from Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, University of Kelaniya. He was appointed as an editor in Lanka Tathaman Journey, which is organized by and published by a group of student monks from Myanmar to Sri Lanka. He was appointed as a visiting lecturer at PGI PBS, University of Kelaniya, during the academic year of 2019. He completed his PhD degree from the same university in 2020. The title of his research is A Critical Study of Concept of Motivation in Buddhist Jataka Story. By 2021, he also extended his knowledge area in the field of Buddhist psychology by joining another MA course on Master of Arts in Buddhist Ayurvedic Counseling. Currently, he is working as one of the leading implementation committee members of Buddhist University of Arakan, located in Sitwe, Rakhine State, Myanmar. He occasionally delivered Dhamma talks to Burmese audience and sometimes to international as well. His major interest is utilizing Buddhist primary sources in the field of counseling psychology. Regarding the meditation experience, Venerable is familiar with techniques of renowned Buddhist meditation master Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, Venerable Panditaram Sayadaw, Venerable Mogok Sayadaw in Myanmar, and SN Goenka tradition. At present, he is conducting academic work as a visiting scholar to Shan State Buddhist University, Myanmar. At present, Venerable is working as a lecturer on Buddhist counseling psychology in the Dhammavinaya University in Yangon, Myanmar. So I cordially warmly welcome our wonderful Sayadaw, Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana.
Thank you so much for Bande for inviting me this event. The good evening from Myanmar, particularly Elder Kai State, and good morning and good afternoon. So it's very good to meet you again. I've been sometimes uh, away from this talk because so much things uh, to do here. So happy to meet you again. So let's get started before without taking much time. So the given title is the real miracle of Buddhism So before that is a given title. Let me pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I pay homage to the blessed one, the worthy one, and perfectly enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. So hope all you are keeping well. Here is a little rainy, but I hope you hear my voice clearly. Uh, so the title, a little maybe, it's not usual that I have given earlier. Something different. You uh, may see this, the real miracle of Buddhism. The before before that, the I'm going to show you my outline of my talk. Uh, can you move the band one slide? Yes. Uh, it's not much a systematic way to arrange it. Anyway, that is the five categories or five contexts that I'm going to cover in my talk. The miracles that the Buddha did not encourage and why. Second, understanding the rule of the Buddha, the some secular evidence. What does it mean today? Context it means. Number five, the real miracles is purpose. So that five area or five the uh, context will be covered by this talk. So I have given these miracles, the real miracles of the Buddhism to me, a little big topic, obviously. So to say that the real is something real, so we also need to examine the what is not real or the is opposite it means. So in the why I choose this topic that it happened especially today. People have such the Buddhist and non-Buddhist alike, uh, some a religious member, monks and others, misleading, writing and talking, and uh, it means that they have not studied well Buddhist teaching, they have not practiced well, they have not understood well, but that they just want to talk about the Buddhism at the time. That kind of things, something may mislead the people, and the people who really want to learn Buddhism. So, but I'm not saying that that will be, the something, the criterion or something, you know, it's very big things. But I just want to contribute that what is the real miracles of Buddhism. But the word using this, it will be clear that what I want to say later on. See, from my reading, that why this topic came to my mind, that came to my mind is that from my reading Professor Grunadasa books of the early Buddhist teachings. So we have a group reading of this book. This so in this book, Professor mentioned that mm, the Buddha has had such expeditions, that he had the four groups of the disciples, four kinds of disciples: monks, nuns or bhikkhunis, and lay male or female disciples. And he had such he had expedition that on the that four kinds of group, not only correctly understanding of his teachings, but also to refute or to defeat, we can say that defeat uh, some kind of the m- m- misdoctrinal interpretation or his teachings, or misinterpretation, or misleading. So it means that monks and nuns, lay people or lay people, lay community also are responsible, so to it protects this dhamma from the misinterpretation or so nowadays it's happening. So little before going to the main point, little the I just want to mention another accident that happened, or especially the Sri Lanka monks, very renowned scholars, the really venerated monk Panavawapola. So you may have already known that before he wrote the book called What the Buddha Taught. It's a very famous book and the historical book. Before this book, it's happening over the world that some people, so-called Buddhist scholars, are writing about Buddhism. Buddhism is this, Buddhism is that, what the Buddha teach, what the Buddha taught is that. So some of them are not really, some of them have not such, really understanding what the Buddha taught or Buddhist teachings, but they're writing. So when this book emerged or came out, so they stopped it because they came to know that what they are saying is not real, what the Buddha said. So we call this book is legendary, or monks Venerable Wapola, a Sri Lankan monk, very respected monks. It's a legendary or a legend. He was a legend. So what I want to say is that sometimes, even a very traditional Buddhist community like Myanmar, my country, people believe sometimes, even they were born from the Buddhist families, so their knowledge about Buddhism or something, they have is different. Uh, it means they don't get the real essence of the Buddhism, even they're living traditionally. whole life in the Buddhist community. That is sad to mention this. So miracles performing, just like a magic. So even in Buddhist community, it's happening. So the first things that we are going to, you know, the main topics that I'm going to show you that what I want to say, these real miracles. Can you move to the second Bande slide? Yes, three miracles. Three miracles. There are three types of miracles. So the Buddha mentioned this three times in the uh, Keveda Sutra or Digha Nikaya. The miracle of psychic power is called Adivida Padiharya, the marvels of supernormal powers to appear as many persons, to pass through walls, to fly through the air, walk on water. All these are, physical actions the ordinary people cannot perform. Ordinary people cannot perform this. So when they see, someone is flying on the sky or walking over the water, they feel that wow, is something magical. Even we know sometimes magic is a cheating. It's not real. They're just magical attraction. We call that. The but we gotta surprise that we feel. As ordinary people. So some monks, it is these things related to meditation practice. The some monks, even the Buddha days, they got that psychic power or supernatural power. They perform it. So that is the number one thing. Number two, the miracle of telepathy or Adesana Padiharya, the supernormal power to read other people's mind. So it's called Parachita Vijanana. So meditation practice can elevate a person to that level. So in that level, a certain person can read other people's minds, what they're thinking, what taking what kind of object, something like that. So that kind of miracle. The third miracle is teaching or instructions, Anusasana Padiharya, the supernormal powers to be able to guide people according to their mental development for their own good, using suitable methods to fit these people. So you can find out this evidence to Digha Nikaya, warming the Sosila Kanda, page number 213. So these three things that the Buddha has mentioned, three kinds of miracles. But what we want to highlight here is the last one, the third one, Anusasana Padiharya. So I'm going to mention this, the real essence of the Buddhism, or Buddhist, the real miracles. What I want to say, real miracles, by giving the title, is the third one, or the last one. Instructions or teaching. We can imagine that after the Buddha, Parinibbana, he passed away. So if he allowed for forming this magical power, some we can say that maybe some people strongly believe in the Buddhism, seeing that monks are flying on the sky, walking over the water, they can go through to the earth, or just like that. Using this, it can get some attractions, or we call them magic attractions from some people. But to be able to sustain, to maintain, uh, for the sustainable development, it doesn't work. So here mentioned the first two miracles relevant to the meditation practice. The Buddha reject them, reasoning they can perform in other set of religion and traditions. So they can be found in other even before the Buddha. So those kind of practice, those kind of power is it were they were existing even the Buddha. So it means that those kind of things performing miracles is not they are not accents or they are not valuable things or those are not like what the Buddha wanted. What the Buddha see that performing that kind of practice can sustain the Buddhist tradition such long we have today. So evidence, however, can be found that the Buddha himself performed it. The Buddha used that power sometimes to impress, his relatives in the Kapilavatthu, the Satya clan. The third one was encouraged by the Buddha for his disciples to perform. But the first two, the Buddha rejected, stop it by rule, Vinaya rule. So the first two supernormal powers we display for their own sakes in order to impress people are not different from performance of magicians. Yes, a kind of magic of magicians, magic performance. A monk who practices such worldly miracles is a source of the shame, humiliation, and the disgust. Such actions may impress and won covers followers, but they do not bring enlightenment to help them put an end of sufferings. That is the main point that because the Buddha Sasana, the instruction or the teaching to end of suffering, to end of sensory existence. So those things may get us some impressions or attractions from the people, but it doesn't have ending suffering. So that the what is the Buddha deny or the refute the first two miracles. Second slide, Bande. Yes. So is the aim of performance. Or maybe that one. Another slide. Yeah. So the Buddha and deny it uh, and not allow his disciples to perform by rule, Vinaya rule. It's very straight, a very serious case. It means just like a serious case. Do not do this. The Buddha stopped it. This advice to Kevada that we have already discussed, Kevada Sutta, was also extended to Vinaya rules that provide monks for the forbidden, forbid monks from performing miracles to impress people and gain converts without helping them to enlighten. This was clear in the case of the Pendola. So another case come. So it is some here's the some case there. Before we are going to the the Vinaya rule, you may have already heard that stories. Venerable Pendola is one of the students of Venerable Maukalana, this the highest, the supernatural, uh, the power in this Buddha Sasana, who has such a the highest supernatural power, Venerable Maukalana. So one of his students, the Pendola, Arhan, he was the Arhan that time. Baradoja was famous for his miraculous psychic power. A rich man wanting his monks to prove his psychic power placed a beautiful bowl at the top of the high place, challenged any holy man to get the bowl down. If he could do this, he could keep the bowl. So he challenged that if a monk or any religious person can take it this bowl, so he is going to follow that kind of organization or religion for whole life. He challenges. So Pindola, Venerable Pindola flew out and took the bowl down easily. This was also down to prove to rich men that there are saints in the world. A fact that the rich man did not believe. When the Buddha came to know about this incident, he called Pindola Baradoja who bring this bowl, and he broke the bowl into pieces in the front of a large gathering of monks, saying, I am displeased about the demonstrations of your psychic power. You must never show off your power just to impress simple, ignorant people. So beautiful, the saying or and the that sentence, what the Buddha said, really showed that the Buddha's intention or his purpose of the sasana, how it should be surviving, how it should be sustained, the the Dhamma hand to hand. So, so we can see that the Buddha's intention on performing that kind of magical power or miracles. And we also can understand that who the Buddha was. So I have given the second title, the understanding the role of the Buddha, because we choose the third one as a real miracle. Then, so most of the Buddhist people, I think, uh, know the Buddha, who was the Buddha. But scholarly, we also have to understand that, especially relevant to this case, teaching or learning that the Buddha allowed monks, his disciples to perform. And he designate this, identify that kind of teaching or learning process as a miracles. How, for me personally, how beautiful it was, how intelligent that a simple religious teacher, for example, simple religious person or leaders may see that that kind of things will impress or attract the people. So we can do this, though many things will come, the honors or possessions and famous, or if they want to be famous, it may popular. Welcome, Laba Chakara Siloka, we call this. But the Buddha was not like this. He went that kind of teaching this lineage for a long time. That so the teaching instructions is he used the word miracles, padiharya. It's beautiful, isn't it? So we are going to understand a little bit that the text mentions the maybe a little different from the how the some of the traditional Buddhists understood. In the traditional Buddhist community, like a Buddha, when they imagine who was the Buddha, like a Buddha was the flying on the sky and the kind of lightning and then around and or some tradition you may see that especially mm, they decorate and they create the Buddha as a like a creator or so this thing the Buddha is getting away from their mind. He was a person, a human or super is not normal human, extraordinary human, something like that. The rule of the Buddha. So the first thing that the Buddha was a teacher, we can understand. The Buddha himself that uh, refer himself as a consider himself as a teacher. So that qualities, that characteristic, we can also find out in the nine siblings quality of the Buddha. The 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 Satta Dewa Manosana. Satta mean the teacher, the teacher. So he's recognized as a teacher. It means I'm teaching. Akataro Tathagatan. Akataro Tathagatan. Another one is the incomparable guide to those who are to be displayed, those who are to be tamed. It means Anotaro Purisa Dhammasarati. So we know this the is one of the Buddha's qualities out of the nine. He was a Anotaro, incomparable teacher, a guider, uh, who 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 was able to guide the people. You know, the teacher, in other words, Akataro Tathagatan. That in a Dhammavada say. This word mentioned the Buddha was teaching. Another word the Buddha mentioned as a physician, a doctor. So in the text, another beautiful word that refers to the Buddha is the mula desi. Mula. Mula desi is the root, seeing somebody used to see the root cause, or digadesi. Digadesi is another word is digadesi, who has touched the intellectual capacity to see, you know, in the very long future, very far future. So in this extent, we can see who the Buddha was, because he stopped it. He denied it, performing the that kind of magic power. So we can call the Buddha as a mula desi, sorry, diga desi. Diga means very long. Desi means somebody who is such power, or see that the long, the very far future. So another word that to understand the Buddha, I have uh, read that but this evidence could not be found in the Theravada teachings, maybe from the Zen traditions. Once the monk, a monk asked the Buddha, Bande, could you please give me a technique, meditation technique, uh, to walk over to walk over the water. I just want to walk over the water. The Buddha said, "For why?" So he said, "Because I want to cross this river. I just want to go another shore." Then the Buddha said, "Hire a boat." Really, if you want to go to another shore, please hire the boat. That will be great. The monk said, "No, I've been practicing meditation for 30 years just to walk walk over the water and across the river." The Buddha say, "No, try not to do this. Just hire a boat. It will be very good for you." So from this is more the little, that from the as in the stories, we can imagine that who he was. I like it, this story so much. Another uh the evidence that it's not the textual evidence. I heard that in the like later maybe 17th century, one of the is a colonization start. Maybe I don't know which era. Will be early 90th century. So the group of Christian missionary led by a monks, Christian monks, came to the propagate their teaching. So they came to the middle of the India Ocean and reached to a very remote island. So they found a group of monks, let's say the monks practicing in this island. Uh, they don't eat any meat, fish, or they eat like a fruit, vegetable, and other maybe leaves. Practicing. So a Christian group came to that island and they taught the way according to the procedure how Christian, they the teaching they taught the monks the praying, how praying to the gods on the heaven, or according to the Bible, what the Bible said. They've been teaching for 1 week. So the monks living in this island, from that island, humbly accept that, listening or learning those teachings, Christian teaching, from that group, the monks. So it took 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the missionary group, Christian missionary group, left the island. So in meantime, they left for one like a kilometer away from the island. The ship they have a by the ship. So they see that a monks from the island just came toward to them, walking over the water, you know. And he gently landed on the ship and asked the leading the Christian monks, could you please teach again how we pray to the God? So the monks, Christian, the leader got surprised and seeing this and said, okay, no need. You don't need to learn anymore. Just go back to practice as usual what you been practicing previously. So he denied to teach again. Just go back and it means that what I want to say by this story, the performing, walking over the water or performing such miracles, magical power, supernatural power, is according to Buddhism, it's no higher level, it's very low level. Because they kind of practice their kind of performance or qualities can be found outside of the Buddhist teach, even before the Buddha. It means that there are no essence of Buddhism or Buddhist teaching. What is the real miracles? It's a teaching. Teaching can sustain. So one of the textual evidence in a Vinaya Pitaka showed that Devadatta came to the Buddha. I think some of the Buddhist people have already known this. Venerable Devadatta came to the Buddha and asked 5 kinds of the principles or practice. He requests the Buddha to impose or to rule the monks. Monks should be practicing in the forest whole life, number one. Number two, they should be wearing the red robes, the pansakula, we call that robe, picking out the cemetery and picking up the roadside and I don't know another English word this will work. What is called bande? This roof, pansakula roof. In another English word. Yeah, funeral clothes, funeral clothes. So it's not only for the funeral, right? But others, you can pick out the piece of the clothes and you can swim this and make a roof, just like that. So it's Buddhist tradition and kind of uh, practice, you know, dudanga, the kind of higher the practice. And the monk should avoid eating meat should be vegetarian. It means a sense, but does not mean that avoiding eating meat is a should be vegetarian. Vegetarian concept is different, but avoiding meat is different. But I don't see those are the same things. Maybe some people, maybe some reason will avoid eating meat, but it does not mean those are vegetarian or vegetarian is a kind of concept, I think. But I'm not going to say it here. That one. The monk should live. Monk should live in the under the tree, under the tree. So monk should practice the Pindabada the whole life. Five kinds of the things. Then he requests the Buddha to impose that kind of practice as a rule to the monk. So the Buddha denied it. But we can see those in those practice, some of the practice really good for this community, or we can or the it will impress the people, you know. But why the Buddha deny? Because intention of the Devadatta is bad intention, papicha we call it. So what the Buddha say the Pindola, I am displeased about the that demonstrations of performance of the your psyche supernatural power. The Buddhas warn that you never show off your powers just to impress simple, ignorant people. It's very clear expressions there. And the Buddha a little take it serious this case, you know, because he broke the arm bowls, the bowls. So in this way, the Buddha denied Venerable Devadatta at the time he was a monk. And the whole line, Venerable Devadatta was a monk. He has been a monk. Why deny? Good practice, some of the Pindabara is good, or taking the funeral clothes, the Pansakula, Chiwara, Dutanga is good. Now, avoiding meat, sometimes leaving the forest is good. The Buddha himself encouraged to eat it, to avoid eating meat for those who live in the forest. So those practices are good, but why deny? Because of the intention. People will, encourage or admire, especially simple people. But in real sense, it will not work for the long, existence or sustainable development. So those things, though we can also see that who the Buddha was and the so evidence. Let me say this another evidence that to understand the why the Buddha denied why the Buddha denied the in the in Buddhist community, people or monks want to show off their ability in not appropriate way. They just want to go. They just want to get attention eh, in a correct way. We can say that in correct way. So their pride is also the correct and the collapse. It can so destroy the real spirit of the uh, essence of the teachings. So we can also find out the Venerable that what the Buddha taught in the book. Venerable Wapola mentioned in his book, a bhikkhuni practiced for 30 years to see by ear, to see from the organs ear, because the ear organs just to hear. It's very simple. It's natural gifts that we all people got this. So as the Buddha replied to the monk who wants to cross the river by walking over this So here, the Venerable Wapula say, we have eyes, very clear eyesight to see things, but why we need to hear, why we need to see by ear? So it's useless. It's a fake. It's bad. It's not right intention. It means. So the Buddha also mentioned, and to Devadatta to reply in this one too, with a better intention to impress the people. Another evidence that when the Buddha was saying the Virinja, the city called Virinja, Virinja, the man, a Brahmins called the Virinja, invite the Buddha to come to spend some time in his city. And he forgot that he had invited the Buddha. The Buddha came to that city, have no food. At that time, some famines come to that city. Many people die, just like a COVID-19 last some years. It's happening. So we call it Rogandra or Dobigandra together comes. No food, no water. Then Rogandra, the distractions of the disease come. Many people die in a village. The Buddha and other followers, 500 monks, have no food enough, not sufficient food. But luckily, some traders came from another country to that city. They offer some rice and thus some food to the Buddha. In short, let's say that. And that is the way they were monks and Buddhas were surviving. At that time, Venerable Moggallana came to the Buddha to ask, request that he is going to fight out. He's going to, upside down the war and find out some kind of good the diet under this art. Because in this very beginning of the uh, establishing, very beginning of organizing this kappa of this war. So at that time, it's very sweet, just like a bee or a kind of diet existing under this art, under the ground. We call it underground. So Moggallana say he will do that this are upside down and then take this diet and then feed the people and monks. He will use his magical power. The Buddha asked that. The Buddha did not deny certainly or directly that, and asked the Venerable Moggallana, what will you do with the other sentient beings living and surviving in this earth? He said that I'm going to create another my hand as it, the earth, and I move them to that bar. I'm going to do this. I'm using my magical power. So the Buddha denied again, saying that Venerable Moggallana, your intention is good because you have such a great compassionate attitude toward the beings who have no food, suffer a lot. To feed them, you're going to do this. But how about next 100 years or 1,000 years later? If there will not be a person like you, people will blame the sasana. It means great. The Buddha has such, uh, the power to see the future. In the long future or far future, if people have no such capacity like you to perform this, so what to do? But there's another evidence for forming magical power. So the Buddha mentioned that the real miracles or power that we should perform is a teaching or learning, because it's so important. That is the way, that is the techniques, that is the practice, teaching, learning practice. When we say teaching, there will be three steps, right? Three things included: teaching, pariyati, patipati, and patiweda. So the learning or practicing or realization. Another word, three things like a suttamaya jnana, teaching and learning, Sutamaya, wisdom born of the learning or teaching. Achindamaya, wisdom born of the reflections. Another word is the Bhavanamaya, wisdom born of the practicing or experiential knowledge. So when we say the teaching learning, those three things are included. Oh, that this in evidence, let's just look at the today context. What the even in traditional, even it's a very Buddhist community. Uh, that is natural other people. If you can perform even magicians, so we really admire that. We see that and impress. Wow, something like that, because it's not normal. It's something super normal, right? But anyway, some religious person, they try to get an intention, they try to get attraction or the impress the people by doing so. So for the real, if we think that we are Buddhist, we Buddhist mean we're trying to be Buddhist and practicing Buddhist teaching, trying to be a real followers of the Buddha. What we have to handle, what we have to grasp, what we have to adhere is a teaching or learning, nothing else. Because sometimes, like, monks can perform this. You may have already heard that in some years ago in the Thailand, monks and perform and the just like something supernatural, but they're all cheating. It's cheating. So that's the essence. What we have to How we have to look at the monks and their legacy or their value. That is the criteria. Teaching and learning, guiding. Are we able to guide you as a religious person or religious teacher? Are we able to give you a guidance? Are we able to teach you? That is the value of the monks or nuns, bhikkhu or bhikkhunis, lay people or lay disciples. That is the real essence of the Buddhism. What I want to say is called real miracles of the Buddhism. So the Buddha denies strongly, and he showed that real miracles is instructions, learning and teaching, nothing else. So that kind of knowledge that some of you have already known that, but the kind of things that nowadays we're seeing, or even Buddhist community, especially my country, Myanmar, is happening these days. A lot of things, people using that what the Buddha teach. That is what the Buddha's teachings. Mm, There's a real teaching of the Buddha, but we have to look at it that way. Pariyati, learning, teaching, or practicing accordingly, or realization. This step. That is the way to go to the and the aims of the okay. Let move bande aims of the last one. Okay, aims. That is the last one of it's my talk. So I'm going to conclude this one by saying, by uh, okay, no bande aims of the performance. Yeah, in performance of the miracle. So third kind of supernatural power, for which may be called a miracle, has people to get rid of suffering. The third one, the Buddha used the miracle, had people to get right. That's the real aims. The Buddha say in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, you may have already understood this. Ekayano, the only way to go where? Only way to get rid of suffering, to end of samsara. So all the entire Buddhist teachings has such one intention or one purpose to get rid of suffering or to reduce. You don't want to go to Nibbana directly. Sometimes you just want to live here happily and the less with the less sins, less unwholesome. So anyway, so but the real intention is to reduce things. Learning or teaching why we are doing this because to end it. That's the aims. That is the only supernormal power that is fit to be practiced. That is allowed to be practiced. The only miracles that should be performed are these: when you see man full of passion, craving, and greed, you teach him to free himself from the passion, greed, craving, and greed. When you see that a man is a slave to hatred and anger, you use your powers to help him control his hatred and anger. When you come across a man who is ignorant and who cannot see the true nature of the world, everything in this world is impermanent. That's very obvious, sorrowful and egoless. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. And you use your powers to help him overcome his ignorance. These are worthy miracles you can perform. Beautiful, beautiful. So, how we have to perform that the Buddha's mentioned this sutta, guiding the people, try to the uh, reduce their sorrowfulness or the suffering or predicaments, teaching and guiding. That is the we are performing the miracles. It's called what the real miracles of Buddhism. Thank you. Thank you so much. Or not my writing. The slide, some of the writing mentions I have taken from the online source. I forgot to put the
Okay.
reference. Okay, but
Thank you so much, Sayadaw, for
thank
this
you.
wonderful session on the real miracle of Buddhism. I think everyone is so excited to learn about the miracles, and everyone is so happy if they can also perform miracles. Yeah, the thing is in Buddhism, we do have a situation where miracles are not so prioritized, but the real miracle, as you said, is to attain the Nibbana. Yes. So that is why the Buddha has actually not so highlighted, especially from the monks when they wanted to show off, they wanted to impress the other people. So the Buddha did not like that idea. Um, so uh, yet the Buddha had to show sometimes, like the Yamuka Mahapatihariya, like
Yes,
to the Shakyans, to ward off their conceit, the mana. And in some cases, the Buddha had to do that. Buddha knew the limit. Buddha knew why he was, as you said, the aim of the miracle story is important. So it is just to help someone and not to show off someone's personality.
yes,
For example, as you said, the story of the Pindola Bharadwaja, so that would not really show the real intention of the Buddha. And so we do have a question variable. Maybe I will post this first, and then we will also ask other people if you have any question. Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana is a very good qualified one to answer your question. Let's see what Priyadashini Rasangika has to say. Sometimes miracles may help to attract people for good and protect and make them afraid of doing bad. What is
Okay,
your
there are questions.
response?
Sometimes miracles may have to attract the people for good reasons to me, and the protects and make them afraid of doing bad. That is true to some extent. We have to, but this to solve the problem, uh, the in short periods. But what we are saying today is uh, for the long periods. One of the scholars said the if the Buddha allowed his disciples to perform this, okay, uh, like you can do this as you will. Open if the Buddha opened this to perform to the monks, the Buddha Sasana have already ended after 100 years of the Buddha's Parinibbana. Said that, but I agree with that personally. Uh, Priyadas, what is his name? Rangachika, I think maybe Sri Lankan. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Sometimes miracles may have, yes, you're right to some extent. Uh, there was a monk called Pilinda Wija. I think you may have heard of that story. Pilinda Wija, kind of the who has possessed this magical power. Once the two guards were kidnapped by a group, so Pilinda Wija used his power to rescue these two young uh, uh, the guards, and they rescue them, help them, right? Using this magical power. The Buddha did not criticize any of this at that time, helping the people. But why he used strongly enforced this by as a linear rule? Those are out-hander. Monks are out-hander. They know that their limit. But some people like a Devadatta, they just want to show off or want to be famous. It's to mislead the people or to use this power for this own or labha sakara siloka to possess things and get to want to get honor and then to want to be famous. So when we protect them, make them afraid of doing bad. But that is a good way when you say that's good way. But one maybe 10% that is good to perform or to help people or just like okay the kind of producing the weapon. Why is a weapon come? Sometimes to protect the country, to have good people, to protect the good people. That is the reason. Really, or our people are doing this to protect in good reason, I mean good way. No, they are not using this. Sometimes they just want to protect their ego-ness. No, not to protect the people. I'm not saying that the weapons, guns in a good hand is great for humanity. But our people are not using this with the intentions all the time. At that time, it's very dangerous. So the Buddha Sasana has no gun, no army. But with no gun, no army, to sustain something is very difficult. This is why he has to design that not to perform this. That kind of performance will not sustain our teaching Sasana for a long time. Then he stopped by ruling, enforcing Vinaya rule. So thank you so much for that question. It's a good question.
Yeah, what is so important in our Buddhist tradition is the power of our meditation practice and also samatha and some kasina meditations, right?
Yes.
They can be very helpful to attain if you want to achieve some, accomplish some miracle powers. But the main idea is actually to practice vipassana. But having said that, the Buddha himself has encouraged the monks to practice both samatha and vipassana. And so you can also have a balance, you can have a middle way, and also keep your priority. It is more important for you to um, get rid of this samsara rather than flying in the air, right? And perform many miracles. And the real miracle actually is
Yes.
to attain the Nibbana. That really is a real miracle. Um, Having seen the kind of suffering that we have in the samsara.
Yes, Bande, you're right. What are my intentions? The purpose of giving that talk is because we see in sometimes in our environment some are misleading people, and some people like what the Buddha used the word like simple ignorant people. It's not that is not the talk for some are intellectual people. Some has a capacity to design, to investigate, or to explore what is good or bad or right or wrong. So some people has not capacity to know this. The monks is that happening even in the throughout the world or other Buddhist community. What is the Buddhism? There, the to attract, to mobilize, to impress the people. But what is the by this talk is uh, to see the monks to what is it they are doing. Mm, the kind of how to say the things that uh, in the Buddhist community, some Buddhist community doing that kind of things, apart from this learning and teaching or adesana, sorry, anusasana patiharya, the miracles of the instructions or learning and teaching. Apart from this, they're doing something else, and they name it. They designate that as a Buddhist, what the Buddha taught, especially the people who have such, less the intellectual capacities. That is the what our responsibilities that monks and nuns. What is the real miracles the Buddha has guided them that we need to perform? Flying on the sky, walking over the water, it means nothing compared to the vipassana meditation bande what you have mentioned. So this the real essence is to practice to end the suffering. But I'm not saying such higher level to reach nibbana or whatever. But even this life, if we can reduce to some extent our suffering, sorrowful, or restlessness, or worry or something, that is it, the value, or that is the fruitfulness of the practice, the come from the practice the the we we have or we practice.
All right. Thank you so much, Venerable Dr. Vara Nyana. With that, we would like to conclude today's session. And again, I remember you joined us some time back, and now it is episode number 68. And hopefully, we will also invite you to again come join us and share your wisdom for the benefit of our community, and really appreciate your commitment. And I saw that in your resume, like you're not even giving many public lectures that much, and we are really privileged to have Venerable Parayana with us. I think I have another, maybe we can, a new question. Is telepathy a magic or a natural thing? I heard when you attained in some extent on meditation, you can feel a kind of telepathy. Maybe
It's
if you
true.
want.
We call is telepathy a magic or the natural things? I heard when you attain in some extent of meditation, you can feel a kind of telepathy. Yes, we call it abhinyana. You gotta practice the samatha vipassana, sorry, samatha meditation practice. When you came to the, oh, okay, if we say that in the, we'll go to the text like a pichama or the jhana, jhana practice. So you will get this, that kind of ability or telepathy, a capacity to know, to read other people's mind. That is a result of meditation. You are right. Meditation practice. We can also feed this. It means that you have this ability. It does not mean that you have to show off others. it that is the, how to say, one of the steps when we go across that way. You will gain it, but not everybody. Not everybody. Some people will gain it. We call that abhinyana. Or the Padisambhida also, one arhan, some arhan get the practice also, the, gain this, especially abhinyana is telepathy. Parachita vijanana, abhinyana, we call that. Parachita vijanana means knowing other people's minds. You are able to read it, other people's mind. So that is a result of meditation. It's not magic. It's not magic. We use it the magic power. It's kind of natural things emerge from mind as a result of your meditation practice. Using the words using magic power is the something supernatural performance. It's not simple, it's not normal in the ordinary sense. Something more than normal. We call it supernatural, supernormal, right?
Thank you so much, POKR, for your question. And maybe you can also explain a little bit um, about Malika Disanayaka's question.
Okay.
Explain why
Malika
many
Desaya.
people favor of first two.
That is the natural or the people, ordinary people. That is why we are talking this. Is it uh, people favor, of course. Even in my country like Myanmar, if the people see that somebody is flying on the sky, monks flying on the sky, oh, is it Arhanda, is flying on the sky or walking over the water, they will definitely identify or definitely say that this person is a real Arhanda. But the according to Buddhism, no relevance. Flying on the sky is something different. Arahanta is different. Arahanta eradicated all defilements, whether he can fly on the sky or not. Some are can have no such a vijnana. They simply live, they simply end their life. But what is something extraordinary thing they have done is eradicated, ended all sufferings, ended all defilements within their mind. So performing is it something. So to answer, to comment on your, it's no question, as a kind of comment. So
That's
the people may favor because it's naturally that kind of things attract their mind. You like it, we like it, even magic. We know that something is cheating. Magic is cheating. But we favor it just like that. Same
right.
sense.
Thank you so much, Venerable. And thank you
So much.
everyone for joining us today. We also have Sunday school today, so I would like to wind up today's program. And hopefully, this program was very helpful to many. And I'm sure there are many more questions for people to ask. Hopefully, we can invite Venerable Vara Nyana who is really interested in learning more. I saw even after PhD, he wanted to do another MA in Ayurveda. So it's interesting, like how these
I
monks.
just I just want to do this Thai Harvard Divinity School Bande.
Oh, wonderful! You're
I
welcome.
I applied once when I was in Sri Lanka, but denied.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want, let us
Yeah,
know how we can help you.
I have to work here for 3 years. After 3 years, I will do this something different. I
Okay,
just want to extend the my studies.
right.
Yeah,
Because when the monks know a lot of things, and it will be helpful to people when they share the Dhamma, and along with the practice, the real miracle happens when we come closer to the Nibbana, and we can also help with our wisdom. So we really want to appreciate Venerable Varanyana's commitment and dedication to learn the Dhamma, Pariyatti, and also Patipatti, his practice. And really appreciate your commitment, your sharing the Dhamma to help benefit many people in the world. And we also would like to invoke blessings upon you for long life and good health. With the
yes,
blessings
sir.
of the Noble Triple Gem, may you always be well, happy, healthy. Okay.
Sadhu sadhu. Bhavadu sabba mangalam rakhandu sabba devara. Sabba Buddha nubhavena sada sukhi bhavantu te. Bodhu sabba mangalam rakhandu sabba devara. Sabba dhamma nubhavena sada sukhi bhavantu. Bodhu sabba mangalam rakhandu sabba
Santi Sabba Devata, Sabba
devara.
Bhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu. Thank
Sadhu.
you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. We will look forward to seeing you again in future events every Sunday at 6 a.m. Please join us. And we do have another special event on Thursday, Thursday special guest lecture series. And also Friday we have Dhamma Q&A. So 6 p.m. again. So you are welcome to join us. We will start our Pali class as soon as possible as well. Thank you, Venerable Dr. Varanyana again, and looking forward to seeing you. And may you be very happy, healthy. Thank you, everyone, for joining and also posting questions. And a lot of people have also um, complimented and commented positively. And we want to invoke blessings upon all of them as well. With that, we conclude. Thank you. And may you all be well, happy, healthy. Sabbe sata bhavantu sukhita.
Sadhu.
Sad, sad.
Sadhu. Sadhu. Thank you so much, Bande. Thank you.